Hi, I'm Mike Brewer, pastor of the Blue Ash Presbyterian Church, and this is Mike's midweek message for July 29th, 2020. Thanks for stopping in. It was 145 years ago this month that our nation set a record that most folks would just as soon have avoided. It was on July 20th, 1875. That the largest recorded locust swarm in the history of our country swept through the Midwest. They estimate that the swarm of locusts was 1,800 miles long and 110 miles wide. It reached all the way from Canada to Texas. Those locust swarms came along every 7 to 12 years, but in times of drought, and there had been 2 or 3 years of drought by this point, the locust swarms, when they came flying out of the valleys of the Rocky Mountains, were worse in times of dry weather. And this was the worst one anybody had ever seen. People said that the noise of the locust sounded like thunder or like a steam locomotive right next to your house. The skies were darkened. In places, locusts fell on the land up to a foot deep. They ate every scrap of green vegetation in their way, and even chewed on wooden items and leather items that were left outside. In a couple of cases, farmers went out the door to try to shoo the locusts out of their fields, and although the farmers weren't harmed, the locusts literally ate the clothes off of their backs and sent the naked farmers fleeing back indoors. It was a devastating locust swarm, and it would not be the last one. As the drought continued, there continued to be terrible locust swarms for the next 2 or 3 years. That began in 1875, as I said, but in the mid-1880s, by then the rains had come back, the locusts had diminished, and believe it or not, within 2 or 3 decades, scientists became convinced that the Rocky Mountain locusts were completely extinct. Can you imagine such a thing? A locust swarm almost 2,000 miles long, and in a few decades, the insects that terrorized the farmers and destroyed crops and wrecked the economy, they were completely gone once and for all. I'm thinking of the fellow at a Bible study who was asked what his favorite Bible verse was, and he said, "My favorite verse is, 'And it came to pass.'" And the Bible study leader said, "Well, I don't understand. That's not really a very helpful verse." And the fellow said, "Oh, it's helpful to me. Whenever bad things come into my life, I tell myself that it came to pass. It came not to stay, but to pass. And if I can wait a while, whatever bad thing it is will move along." It's not a bad philosophy, and most of the time it turns out to be true. I really was thinking about the locust swarms and their shrinkage and disappearance alongside the COVID virus that we've only been dealing with a few months, but it seems like forever. But maybe the application is bigger than that. Many of us, maybe all of us, are dealing with our own personal struggles in families or at work or with our health or with our finances, and when we're in the thick of those things, it seems as if there is no end in sight. And yet, those problems don't last forever. They come, they pass, and we get on with the business of living. So, if it seems to you that you're in a bad patch right now, whether it's because of the pandemic or because of something else in your life, think of those locusts, so terrible, overshadowing the nation, and then a few years later, gone for good. And it came to pass. Thanks for listening today. I hope that your week is filled with blessings, and that between now and when we get together again, that you will be strong, and you'll be safe, and you'll be faithful. This is Mike Brewer saying, see you later. Bye.